Hey, Stoic warrior. In a world where everyone is chasing validation, comparing themselves to others, and explaining their worth just to be seen, most people have forgotten the power of quiet growth. They scroll through endless feeds, looking for proof that they're enough, but deep down, they know something's missing. The Stoic path is different. We don't chase, we build. We build discipline when no one is watching. We build strength when no one believes. As Marcus Aurelius said, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That's not a quote, it's a command. You stop seeking approval and start constructing character. Growth isn't loud, it's forged in silence, through repetition, through pain, through patience. Today, we'll uncover 6 Stoic truths that will help you focus on your growth until success has no choice but to appear. Breathe in, warrior. Stand tall. Your training begins now. 1. Stop chasing, start building. Everyone wants to be seen winning, but very few want to be caught building. Most people are obsessed with outcomes. They chase recognition, followers, and validation, hoping someone will finally say, "You've made it." But the truth, you can't chase your way into greatness. The moment you start chasing, you've already given away your power. A Stoic doesn't chase. He builds quietly, relentlessly, brick by brick. Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That's not poetry, it's a battle cry. You don't talk about who you want to become. You prove it through repetition, through consistency, through the invisible work no one claps for. Because the second you stop begging for validation, you become unstoppable. Chasing is reactive. Building is deliberate. When you chase, you hand control to the outside world. You let praise or rejection decide your energy. When you build, you take that control back. Every rep, every choice, every morning you show up. That's your declaration of independence. Think about it. The people you admire most aren't chasing attention. They're too busy becoming someone worth noticing. They train while others scroll. They sacrifice comfort for growth. They know that when you build yourself every day, success eventually loses its freedom to ignore you. Modern society rewards speed and noise, but Stoicism teaches the opposite. Mastery lives in the slow, quiet grind. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet still journaled daily to keep his ego small and his purpose sharp. Seneca trained himself to sleep on the floor to ensure he'd never be controlled by comfort. These men weren't chasing approval, they were constructing character. So how do you start building instead of chasing? Begin with 3 simple steps. Build, beg, blame. Step 1. Build. Write down one thing you can improve today. One habit, one reaction, one small discomfort to face. Step 2. Beg no more. Stop explaining yourself to people who don't care. Silence is power. Step 3. Blame no one. Every time you want to point outward, turn inward instead. Ask, what can I control right now? That's it. That's how warriors are made. Not through noise, but through quiet repetitions of strength. Every day you build, you're rewriting your story. You're proving that consistency beats talent, that silence beats noise, and that focus beats approval. It's not glamorous, but it's sacred. Because every Stoic understands. The foundation of greatness is laid in private before it's revealed in public. So stop chasing recognition. Stop waiting for others to validate your effort. Success isn't a person you pursue. It's a shadow that follows those who build. From this moment forward, your mission is simple. Do the work every day, without applause, without shortcuts, without hesitation. You don't need to tell the world who you're becoming. They'll see it when you walk in the room. 2. The only competition is. We live in an age of constant comparison. You open your phone and there it is, a highlight reel of everyone's victories. Someone just bought a new car, someone else just hit a new milestone, and another person is smiling in a life you secretly wish you had. And before you even realize it, you start running a race you never agreed to join. You start measuring your worth with rulers built by other people. But here's the truth. The Stoic doesn't compete outwardly. He competes inwardly. The only person he tries to beat is the man he was yesterday. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you compare yourself to others, you surrender that power. You allow someone else's timeline to dictate your peace. You turn your own progress into a punishment. The modern world has taught you to see growth as a race, but Stoicism sees it as a discipline, a private contract between you and your potential. No audience, no scoreboard. Just you, in the mirror, every single day asking, am I stronger than I was yesterday? Wiser? Calmer? Comparison is a thief, but reflection is a teacher. When you reflect, you don't need to envy anyone, because your standard becomes internal. The Stoic learns to measure progress in silence. One thought mastered, one reaction tamed, one temptation resisted. That's growth. It's not visible, but it's undeniable. The world loves to show you how far ahead others seem, but what they don't show is the price they paid or the peace they lost, chasing that illusion. When you live by comparison, your joy becomes conditional, your value becomes unstable, and your purpose becomes borrowed. So step back, detach from the noise. Every time you feel envy, pause and redirect it. Use it as evidence that you've drifted from your own lane. Then come back to your center, the only ground you can truly control. Here's a practice for that. Each night, take 3 minutes to write down 3 questions. 1. What did I do today that I'm proud of? 2. What did I learn from my mistakes? 3. What will I improve tomorrow? That's your self-scoreboard. No likes, no followers, no trophies, just the truth. Because at the end of every day, the real competition isn't out there. It's inside your own discipline. It's between your higher self and your weaker impulses, between your virtue and your ego. The Stoic path is not about being better than others. It's about being unrecognizable to the man you used to be. And that's the kind of victory no one can take from you. Remember this. You're not behind. You're just in training. The world will rush. Let it. You move with purpose, not pressure. You evolve at the speed of integrity, not insecurity. When you stop competing with others, you finally meet the only rival that matters, yourself. And once you conquer that man, success becomes inevitable because you've already mastered the hardest battlefield of all, your own mind. 3. Consistency beats motivation. Everyone wants to feel motivated. Everyone waits for that perfect wave of inspiration before they move, as if progress were a mood instead of a discipline. But motivation is unstable. It's loud in the beginning and silent when you need it most. That's why Stoics never rely on it. They don't wait for energy. They create it through consistency. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most people imagine the effort required to stay consistent as unbearable. They overthink, procrastinate, and worship comfort. Yet the truth is simple. Doing something small every day hurts far less than doing nothing for weeks and hating yourself for it. Consistency doesn't demand intensity, it demands honesty. It's not about how hard you work today. It's about whether you'll still show up tomorrow when no one's watching. The Stoic understands that growth is built through quiet repetition, not explosive effort. The gym, the book, the journal, the breath. Small acts done daily become the architecture of an unshakable mind. Look around. Most people move in bursts. They sprint, burn out, and start over again. They mistake emotional highs for progress, forgetting that momentum is born from rhythm, not rush. But when you live by consistency, every day becomes a vote for who you're becoming. You no longer need motivation because your habits have replaced your emotions as your compass. Think of Marcus Aurelius. He ruled an empire, endured betrayal, illness, and war. Yet he still found time every morning and night to write in his journal. He didn't do it for inspiration. He did it for structure, for clarity, for mastery of his inner world. He knew what modern people forget, that consistency is not about performance. It's about presence. In neuroscience, repetition rewires the brain faster than intensity. Every time you act on your values instead of your feelings, you reinforce the neural path of strength. Discipline becomes easier, not because life softens, but because your identity hardens. You stop asking, "How do I feel?" and start asking, "What must be done?" Here's a simple principle. Set a minimum, not a maximum. Read 5 pages, not 50. Do 10 push-ups, not 100. Write 1 paragraph, not a chapter. The power lies in keeping the promise to yourself, not in the size of the action. Because when you keep showing up, even at your weakest, you teach your brain one unshakable truth. I am reliable. Modern society glorifies motivation because it's exciting, but Stoicism honors consistency because it's eternal. Motivation comes and goes with the weather and mood. Consistency stays. It doesn't shout, it doesn't sparkle, but it builds empires inside the mind. So when you wake up tomorrow and the voice in your head says, "Not today," answer it with calm defiance. Today, especially today. Because that's when growth actually happens. Not when it's easy, but when it's inconvenient. Every moment you push through resistance, you're building the muscle of reliability, the quiet power of inner command. In the end, motivation may start the journey, but only consistency completes it. Every small repetition is a seed of transformation. One day, you'll look back and realize the person who once needed motivation has been replaced by someone unrecognizable, someone disciplined, grounded, and free. 4. Turn pain into progress. Pain is the most honest teacher you'll ever meet. It doesn't flatter you. It doesn't lie. It simply shows you what still needs to be strengthened. Yet most people spend their lives running from it. Numbing, distracting, avoiding, hoping discomfort will somehow disappear. But pain doesn't leave when ignored. It waits. And when you finally face it, you realize it was never your enemy. It was your training ground. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Seneca practiced sleeping on the floor, wearing rough clothes, eating simple meals. Not because he loved suffering, but because he wanted freedom from fear. He knew that once you stop needing comfort, life loses its ability to control you. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, loss, and endless responsibility. Yet he wrote calmly, "The obstacle is the way." To him, pain was not a punishment, it was a forge. The modern world has taught you the opposite. That pain must mean something's wrong, that if you're hurting, you've failed. But the Stoic knows better. Pain is not a signal to quit, it's a signal to grow. It's the body's and mind's way of whispering, "There's more strength in you than you think." Every hardship, every disappointment, every rejection is a hidden form of resistance training for your character. Think of pain like weights at the gym. No one enjoys the strain, but everyone wants the strength it builds. The tension, the trembling, the burning. That's progress happening in real time. You don't curse the weight, you use it. The same is true in life. A failed business teaches resourcefulness. A heartbreak teaches detachment. A loss teaches gratitude. Every experience is a rep. an opportunity to harden your resilience and deepen your wisdom. But here's the paradox. You can't transform pain if you're too busy labeling it. The Stoic doesn't ask, "Why me?" He asks, "What is this teaching me?" That one shift changes everything. It moves you from victimhood to power, from emotion to execution. Because once you extract meaning from pain, it stops being suffering and becomes instruction. Here's a practice. Simple but powerful. Start a pain journal. Each night, write down 3 things that challenged you that day. Then ask, how is this shaping me? Maybe the argument at work taught you patience. Maybe failure taught you humility. Maybe loneliness reminded you to build self-respect instead of dependence. Over time, you'll begin to see the pattern. Pain was never random. It was the curriculum. The Stoic lives by a different rule. Seek not a life without pain, but a mind that cannot be broken by it. Every time you face something uncomfortable and stay grounded, you're adding another layer of armor to your spirit. And soon, what once crushed you becomes the very thing that carries you forward. Life will never stop testing you. But that's the point. Tests reveal truth. Pain is simply the world's way of asking, do you really believe what you say you believe? The weak crumble under that question. The Stoic answers it with action. So when pain knocks on your door, don't run. Open it. Welcome it like an old mentor. Because behind every hardship lies the exact strength you've been asking for. 5. Control what you can. Release what you can't. Most of what exhausts you has nothing to do with what's happening. It's your fight against what you can't control. You replay conversations, analyze other people's choices, and stress about outcomes that never belonged to you in the first place. You grip so tightly that you mistake tension for control. But control doesn't live in clenched fists. It lives in calm awareness. Epictetus said it clearly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In one sentence, he drew the invisible line between peace and chaos. The world is unpredictable. People are emotional. Circumstances change. But your response is yours alone. The Stoic's power begins where his control begins, and it ends where his control ends. Everything outside that circle is not weakness to be conquered, but noise to be released. Most people suffer twice, first from the event, and then from their resistance to it. They lose sleep over things already gone, argue with people who will never understand, try to force outcomes they were never meant to manage. Stoicism teaches the art of surrender, not in defeat, but in wisdom. You don't let go because you're weak. You let go because your energy is sacred and you refuse to waste it on what was never yours to hold. Imagine your life as 3 concentric circles. The innermost one is what you can control. Your thoughts, your choices, your actions. The middle circle holds what you can influence. Your words, your effort, your presence. The outer circle is everything else. Outcomes, opinions, fate. The mistake of the modern mind is that it spends all its time in the outer ring, obsessing over things that can't be fixed, while neglecting the only part that can truly change everything. The center. Marcus Aurelius wrote daily to remind himself of this. He couldn't control betrayal, war, or disease. But he could control his composure, his decisions, his virtue. He faced storms without panic because he built his peace where no storm could reach. That's the Stoic secret. You stop trying to control life and start mastering the self that lives it. So the next time you're angry, anxious, or afraid, pause and ask a simple question. Is this within my control? If the answer is yes, act. If the answer is no, release it. It sounds simple, but it's the discipline that separates peace from misery. When you stop reacting to everything, you gain power over yourself. And that's the only power that truly lasts. There's a freedom that comes when you stop fighting every current. The Stoic doesn't resist the ocean, he learns how to sail it. He adjusts his sails, not the wind. He moves with purpose, not panic. And even in chaos, he remains centered. Not because the world is calm, but because he is. When you master the art of letting go, life begins to open again. You see clearly what's yours to build and what's yours to bless and release. And that clarity is peace. Not the kind that comes from control, but from surrendering control gracefully. So stop trying to manage every storm. Strength isn't about holding on tighter. It's about knowing when to let go. 6. Become unrecognizable. Through daily work. Real change is quiet. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks or grand gestures. It happens slowly, invisibly, in the hours when no one is watching, in the days that feel ordinary, in the choices that seem too small to matter. But that's where transformation hides. Not in moments of motivation, but in the discipline of repetition. Most people want transformation without consistency. They want to evolve without the boredom, without the silence, without the grind. But the Stoic knows that greatness is built in layers. One disciplined act stacked upon another, until one day the man in the mirror doesn't look familiar anymore. That's not luck. That's design. Marcus Aurelius never aimed to impress the world. He aimed to master himself. Every morning, he wrote to remind his mind of what mattered. To be calm in chaos, patient in conflict, humble in power. He didn't chase transformation. He lived it, page by page, day by day, until the repetition carved a different kind of strength into his soul. The same law applies to you. You can't expect to become someone new while living by the patterns of your old self. Transformation demands ritual. You build discipline like a sculptor shapes stone. By removing what doesn't belong, strike after strike, until the real form appears. It's not glamorous, it's deliberate, and the world will not notice for a long time. Until suddenly, it does. Here's the paradox. The more consistent you become, the less recognizable you are to the people who once knew you. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. Because the version of you that needed validation, that ran from discomfort, that broke every promise to himself, he's gone. You buried him under the weight of your own discipline. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." The Stoic doesn't wait for luck. He manufactures it. Each day of work is a silent investment in the future self. A version of you that will be so grounded, so resilient, that success will have no choice but to meet you halfway. There's a quiet satisfaction in becoming unrecognizable. Not out of arrogance, but out of evolution. You stop explaining your growth because your presence explains it for you. Your energy shifts. Your habits change. You move differently. Speak less. Choose better. People sense it. That weight of self-respect built through daily work. If you want to transform, build systems, not moods. Decide who you want to become, then behave like him. Before you feel ready, before you're seen, before anyone believes. Do it so consistently that one morning you wake up and your reflection looks stronger, your mind feels quieter, and your heart trusts your own discipline more than anyone's praise. That's what it means to become unrecognizable. Not to others, but to the weaker version of yourself that once ruled you. Growth doesn't happen in intensity, it happens in identity. You don't just do disciplined things, you become a disciplined person. You don't act strong, you are strong. The work changes you from the inside out until effort is no longer something you do. It's something you are. So keep building quietly. Keep repeating. Keep refining. Because one day the world will look at you and wonder how you did it. And you'll smile because you'll know you didn't. You became it. 7. The Daily Builder System. Growth isn't something you stumble into. It's something you schedule. The Stoic doesn't wait for the right day to start. Every day is the right day. Because discipline is not built in one act of strength, but in hundreds of small choices that rewire who you are. If you want to become unshakable, you need a system, a rhythm that anchors your mind no matter how chaotic the world becomes. This is that system. Step 1. Rise before the world does. When you wake up before the noise, you reclaim the day before it steals you. No phone, no notifications, just silence, breath, and awareness. The first hour of your morning is sacred. It's when your mind is most programmable. Feed it strength, not distraction. Step 2. Read one Stoic line. Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or Epictetus. It doesn't matter who, as long as it reminds you of your power. Read slowly. Let the words sink into your nervous system. Reflection is the bridge between theory and transformation. Step 3. Move your body. 15 minutes is enough. Push-ups, a run, a cold shower. The Stoic trains his body to obey because a disciplined body makes a disciplined mind. The goal isn't perfection, it's presence. Every rep whispers, "I can do hard things." Step 4. Create before you consume. Your work, your art, your craft, it deserves the first, freshest hour of your energy. Deep work in silence sharpens the mind. When you start the day by producing instead of reacting, you remind yourself that you're the architect, not the audience. Step 5. Journal the truth. Every evening, write 3 wins and 1 lesson. It doesn't have to be big. Maybe you resisted anger, finished a task, or simply stayed calm. These are not small victories. They're evidence that you're rewiring yourself. Seneca journaled every night to hold his soul accountable. You can too. Step 6. Practice gratitude. Before bed, list 3 things you're thankful for, and 1 hardship you now see as a teacher. Gratitude turns pain into perspective. It transforms chaos into calm. The Stoic doesn't need perfect days to feel peace. He builds peace from imperfect days. Step 7. Repeat. Every day, no exceptions. Because repetition is what turns ritual into identity. You do it not to impress, not to achieve, but to remember. To remember who you are when everything else fades. This system is not glamorous. It's not viral. It's not designed for dopamine. It's designed for transformation. Each step reclaims a piece of your mind from the world. Each repetition strengthens your command over yourself. And over time, these habits stop feeling like effort and start feeling like oxygen, the very thing that keeps you alive. Neuroscience calls this repetition-induced identity shift, the moment when consistency becomes your default. The Stoics called it virtue in action. Both mean the same thing. You've stopped trying to be disciplined and started being disciplined. One day, this daily builder system will feel like brushing your teeth. Automatic, grounding, non-negotiable. And when that happens, success will no longer feel like luck or fate. It will feel inevitable, because you built it. One disciplined sunrise at a time. You've learned the truths. You've seen the path, but Stoicism was never about collecting wisdom. It was about becoming it. Every day you choose to build instead of chase, to act instead of react, to stay calm instead of collapse. You're reshaping your entire existence. There will be days when it feels invisible, when no one notices, when the results hide beneath the surface. But that's how real growth works. Quietly, patiently, beneath the noise. And one morning, you'll wake up and realize the life you were chasing has become the life you're living. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Protect them, guard them, build with them. Because success isn't something you earn, it's something you become. Focus on your growth, Build yourself daily until success has no choice. Affirmation: I focus on my growth until success has no choice.